We've got breaking news from golf. We have some tee times for Thursday's first round at the Masters. Taking a look here at the featured groups. They'll go off at 10:07 a.m. Eastern with Bryson DeChambeau, Matt Fitzpatrick, and Xander Schauffele. Defending champion Rory McIlroy begins his quest for a repeat 10:31 Eastern with Cameron Young and amateur Mason Howell. In the afternoon window, 2023 champion Jon Rahm tees off at 1:08 with Chris Gotterup and Ludwig Aubert. And tournament favorite Scottie Scheffler begins his round at 1:44 Eastern. He's grouped with Robert McIntyre and Gary Woodland. We are so excited to have boots on the ground at the Masters tournament. We've got Mark Immelman, who will be courtside for us at Amen Corner. We've also got our analyst, Patrick McDonald, hanging out with us here. Guys, I just want to get initial reactions. Mark, I'll come to you first. We've got the groupings there at the Masters. What jumps out to you when you see those golfers grouped together?
Well, Haley, to me, look, they're obviously megawatt groupings we have there, but I'm always excited because the Masters to me represents tradition. And one of the great traditions at the Masters tournament is that the reigning U.S. amateur champion plays alongside the reigning Masters champion, and then you have a third who joins the group. And for Mason Howell, the amateur champion, going to Georgia next year, he is young, he's dynamic, he's talented, and everyone's expecting him to make a splash in the big time. I'll tell you what, he's arriving in the big time Thursday morning alongside McIlroy and Cameron Young, because the patrons, from what I've seen, have been out here en masse. The weather's going to be fantastic, and Rory is one of those guys in the morning that everyone is going to want to follow. And I've been alongside a few guys who played in this event, and they speak of the nerves prior to the opening tee shot. Look, everyone's nervous. Even the instructors like me back in the day were nervous. But for young Mason, this is going to be one of those moments, one he'll treasure forever, getting to play alongside McIlroy for 2 rounds.
And just some more color on Mason, Mark. I mean, he's not only the U.S. Amateur champion, the 3rd youngest ever, but he medaled at the U.S. Junior last summer. He qualified for the U.S. Open with back-to-back rounds of 63. And then he just played in the Houston Open. He missed the cut by 1 stroke, had a poor opening round, but battled back really strong there at Memorial Park. So if you're looking for low amateurs, I don't think you're going to do much better than Mason Howell, not even out of high school yet. Just a very impressive young man and a young player. But I'm looking at these tee times, and I'm looking at the circus that is Bryson DeChambeau and the patrons that are going to follow him around Augusta National. And those tee times kind of sandwiching Bryson as well. Those guys who are going to have to play with the trickle-down effect of the patrons moving on with Bryson. It's not quite like Tiger, but remember, we don't get to see Bryson on the PGA Tour every week. This is kind of a one-off for him. Only get to see him 4 times a year in the major championships, and you have a lot of contenders around Bryson DeChambeau. You have Matt Fitzpatrick and Xander Schauffele with him, of course, but behind him you got Hideki Matsuyama, Colin Morikawa, and Russell Henley, and then in front of him, Tommy Fleetwood, Patrick Reed, and Akshay Bhatia. So that kind of 3 tee time stretch there in the morning is the one that really stuck out to me.
Yeah, you know that Bryson always has a lot of fans, the mad scientist, as we like to call him, from our side of things. So it's going to be fun to see all those pairings. Patrick, I'm looking at the forecast. It seems like the weather's going to be pretty nice. I mean, 69 on Thursday, 75 Friday, 81 on Saturday and Sunday. Is there an advantage to teeing off earlier in the day as opposed to later in the day for these groupings?
I think it depends on, if you're able to kind of figure out the afternoon wave on Thursday and parlay that momentum into some softer conditions there Friday morning. I think that's always how I would want to play into a major championship, is having the late tee time on Thursday. If you're able to handle the more difficult afternoon wave on the first day, you have all the momentum going into Friday, and you get that long rest there going into the weekend. And even vice versa, if you don't play well on Thursday, you have the opportunity in quote-unquote softer conditions Friday morning to make your way up the cut line, and you're not really sweating the cut line as it materializes deeper into the day in the afternoon. So I've always liked going off, I've never played in the Masters, but I've always preferred from an outsider to play in the afternoon first and then go in the morning. But I'm sure Mark has a more nuanced answer than me.
Patrick, I think you're spot on, big eye. There's something about this tournament, and especially this week with a very dry forecast and the golf course that's dry already, is that we'll obviously start to, or continue to, firm up throughout the week. And for all the Masters I've been at, it always seems to me like Friday afternoon, just for some reason, it just seems drier, crispier, greens are faster, firmer. I know it's a pretty tough proposition. And then you have this power trio of McIlroy and company, who will likely be the second last group off Friday afternoon. So you've got the throngs of people there that are getting off work, coming to the Masters and such. And the Friday is a real sort of celebration, the cut line you referenced as well. So I'm big on late, early, always have been, whether it's the Masters or PGA Tour event, because you do get that rest in between rounds. You do get the continuous play, if you will, Thursday afternoon, Friday morning. So if you're playing well, you can sort of build on that. So the guys out Thursday morning, they're going to have to do work Friday afternoon, and that's for certain.
All right. Yeah, Patrick, I'm not going to lie. I thought you were going to spring on a little fun fact there that you've played the Masters before. Like, okay.
Not yet. Not yet.
Not yet. That's the key there. We got to stay optimistic. Guys, sit tight. We got to check in with you one more time here. Got to hit a quick break before we get there. Want to remind you of those Masters featured group. Of course, we just talked about Rory McIlroy, the defending champion, playing alongside the amateur Mason Howell. That's going to be a fun group. Always eyes on Bryson DeChambeau when he is on the golf course, as he's paired up with Matt Fitzpatrick and Xander Schauffele. And, of course, world number one Scottie Scheffler getting his day going later in the afternoon. Back here on CBS Sports HQ, getting you set for the Masters teeing off later this week. Last year, all eyes were on Rory McIlroy as he completed that career Grand Slam, winning the Masters and his first major in over 10 years. As he looks to build on his legacy, there's so many other golfers hoping to earn that coveted green jacket. So let's dive into it all ahead of Thursday's opening round, as we welcome in our course reporter, Mark Immelman. You can catch him on Amen Quarter all weekend for CBS, and our golf analyst, Patrick McDonald, hanging out on HQ before all the action gets underway. Fellas, we talk about the magnitude of the Masters and what this event really represents. There's just something special about playing at Augusta. It feels different. And if you've played it before, Patrick, you also know that you play a little different too. So, Mark, why is it that this course seems to bring out the best or maybe even the worst in the field?
It's just genius in its design, to be very honest with you. And when they laid out the golf course way back in the early 1900s, there was the vision to be able to expand this golf course to accommodate the modern game. But the thing about it, the way the golf course sits on the property over here, Bob Jones once said, and he was quoted, that if he ever saw a parcel of ground that was sort of designated by God Almighty to have a golf course, it was this one, because it flows down the hill there to Amen Corner that you see in your foreground. There's real nuance to the golf course too, lots of undulation. And the undulation, in my opinion, is the golf course's best defense. There's slopes, as you can see all over the show, and there's always the slightest influence of grain in the greens. And so you've got to kind of know where Race Creek is, because that has a little bit of a play on how the golf ball will roll around the area. But with the trees, with the way the sound echoes through there, the way the wind blows through there, it's just a fantastic venue. And getting to come back every year, you sort of accumulate information, if you will, over the years. Not that if you're playing badly, that doesn't help very much, but if you're playing well, you can certainly parlay that. So as far as golf courses go, it is honestly the ultimate, in my opinion.
Have yet to play it, Haley. Knock on wood, I win the media lottery here for Monday, where 28 lucky media members are going to be able to play. Yeah, double fingers crossed, Mark. I don't know if that's technically good. But like Mark said, thank you. To piggyback on him, it's fair, but it's punishing and it's exacting. But at the same time, it allows room for magic. And when you think about the punishing golf courses, like in Oakmont last year at the U.S. Open, when guys were out of position, had to chip back out. That's just like not the case here at Augusta National, where we've seen some unbelievable recovery shots. John Rahm en route to his win in 2023. I remember hit a pearl into 14. Think about the pine straw there on 13 with Phil, Spieth, a number of others as well. And I think that's the beauty of this golf course is it's fair, it's exacting, it's punishing, but it allows that room for magic for these guys to showcase their skill. And like Mark said, kind of the subtleness of it all with the wind, the nuance of Race Creek as well. It just is everything you want out of a golf course from tee to green, and especially the greens. I think if you're walking this golf course, I love to go backwards from 18 to 1, just because playing it backwards I think is the way to really see how these guys are going to attack it, the angles they have to take off the tee and into these greens. And just well done by Dr. McKenzie and Bobby Jones back in the day.
Yeah, it's truly a beautiful course. And to both of your points, we know that even the most seasoned of golfers, I should say, struggle at Augusta National, which means it's even more difficult for those rookies making their course debut. We've got a handful of guys. Chris Gotterup is one name that I see here. But either way, Patrick, for those newbies in the field, are there some names that you're looking at could maybe break that rookie curse that we've seen where rookies really struggle on this course the first time out?
It's a great crop of debutants, probably the best since 24, where you had Ludwig and then Wyndham Clark coming off that major championship win at the U.S. Open the year prior. And we talk about course history here, but Masters history is just as important, just because these guys are taking it all in for the first time. They're playing the golf course for the first time, but they're taking in all the sights and sounds and the patrons and the leaderboards and everything that they've seen every single year leading up to this when they were kids playing golf, and then obviously into their professional careers too. But I think the name on this board is Chris Gotterup, just given that he's won 2 times on the PGA Tour this season. I believe he's the second player since World War II to enter his first Masters already as a 4-time winner on the PGA Tour. He contended at the Open as well. And what I really like about Chris is he has just a ton of shots in his bag. And you look at his wins, you look at the guys he's taken down. 2 Masters champions, Mark, and Rory McIlroy at the Scottish Open last year, and of course Hideki Matsuyama this year at the WM Phoenix Open.
Yeah, and I'm super impressed, Patrick. You're breaking out the Masters vernacular already with debutantes. Bravo, my friend. Hey, look, I'm all over Gotterup. I really am. He's got all of the game. But I've got my eye on Jacob Bridgman. Grew up just down the way in Easley, South Carolina. Went to college in Clemson. He is fiercely accurate. I mean, this guy can drive it through the eye of a needle, and his iron game is prolific. But the strength of the game with Bridgman, I feel like, is not just the presence and the poise he has mentally, but the skills on the greens. And if you look at him, if he was a veteran around you, you would go, this guy's got all the tools. Not as long as the rest, but he makes up for that with accuracy. And then just one more point about Bridgman. You speak of the victories earlier this season. Gotterup's had 2. Jacob won at Riviera at the Genesis Invitational. And comparisons are made between Riviera's green complexes and the complexes on the greens around the Augusta National Golf Club in terms of how you have to position approach shots, the kind of short game shots you got to hit. You got to have that ground game operational if you want to make some good saves around the place. So for me, Bridgman, he's got all the tools required, and he's shown he can win on the big boy golf course in Riviera. I have no doubts that he can make a splash around this place in his first time.
Yeah, either way, it's just got to be exciting to be taking in the sights and sounds, your first Masters championship. It's got to be special for those new guys, but also, Mark, it's pretty special for the guys who've been there before. You and I spoke on HQ Spotlight yesterday about the Rory McIlroy of it all. We know he's ready to defend his title and then some. You told me yesterday that he was feeling almost anxious, not in a bad way, but just ready to get this thing going here. How does he channel that energy into another trophy?
Well, he's done it before, so I'm sure Rory's got his ways. And he was asked in the press center, and Patrick can allude to this, if he was superstitious at all. And he was like, no, not really. In fact, I'm not staying in the same house I did when I won the Masters last year. So it's not like I think he's going to be bound by expectation or anything, because now that he's finally completed the victory, completed the career Grand Slam, now he's got some freewheeling to do. And for Rory, for me, it's just all, what's the state of his game? What I saw on the driving range yesterday looked really sharp. To me, the distance control was there. The speed was there. And as I mentioned, some of those jitters for the defending champion is, and you can see there's back-to-back champs, and that's a Hall of Fame list if ever there was one, is just getting by the Tuesday evening champions dinner. Because that's in the back of your mind, and you want all the champions to enjoy it. And it's this select fraternity of golfers. And once that's behind Rory, I feel like you'll start to see that relaxed air he sort of had going on. I think you may see that just multiply a little bit, and he'll be ready to go come Thursday morning.
Yeah, we know he's a competitor, so he's not going to take this week lightly. It's also, Patrick, a potential turnaround spot for Scottie Scheffler. This feels so ridiculous even talking about this here. It's been mentioned that he's not up to par for patrons as of late in terms of the golf that he's played. But it's because he sets the bar so high, right? Like, he won the opening event of the year. His family is there to watch him. So when you look at Scottie Scheffler here, Patrick, and the season that he's already had, which has been incredible, how does he top it? How does he quiet the haters? All of the cliches that he's hearing this week going into that first round.
I'll also say this. Too much talk about Scottie Scheffler's iron play and how it's been relatively weak to his standards, and not enough talk, Mark, about how well he's chipping and pitching the golf ball right now. It is unbelievable what this guy does around the greens. He is #1 in the world right now in terms of strokes gained around the greens. And if this golf course gets how Augusta National wants it over the weekend, crispy, firm, a little brown, just all the colors you want to see on your television set, guys are going to be missing greens in regulation, and your hands are going to be tested. And there is no one in the world of golf right now with better hands than Scottie Scheffler. And then you just add in the management factor of Augusta National. This guy has never finished outside the top 20, even when there has been questions in his game. And so he's had a couple weeks off. I'm sure the driving range at Royal Oaks got a hefty dose of Scottie Scheffler. It might be dirt for all we know after he's done. And so I don't think there's a reason to doubt him. Yes, the iron play isn't as good as Scottie Scheffler wants it to be, but with that time off, I think we have to give the guy the benefit of the doubt at this point, given he's been the best player in the world these last 4 years.
Patrick, this stuff makes me yawn. I mean, this big brouhaha about the iron game, these are media talking points because we need something to talk about. Let's be honest. Even if Scottie's iron game is average, it's still one of the best. You point out the short game, I would agree wholeheartedly. The guy chips in at least once, maybe twice a tournament, and he knows these greens intimately. But the thing that not a lot of people speak to, and that's the case you see here at Augusta National in the Masters, it's not all strokes gained physically. It's strokes gained emotionally and mentally too. And I see a Scheffler coming in rested. I see a Scheffler with baby Remy born now, so none of those concerns about Meredith and the pregnancy. And I see a Scheffler coming back to a happy hunting ground. And this place, it welcomes, it loves its champions. And when they drive down Magnolia Lane, you get that feeling about you. How many times have we seen Phil Mickelson show up here with no form and find himself in contention on Sunday evening just because of the emotion of it, how it lifts him, how he understands how to play the golf course. So, look, if he hits the irons, great. If he doesn't, he's still going to contend. He's Scottie Scheffler, for Pete's sake, and he's the world's #1 player.
I mean, this is a guy who literally got arrested a few years ago and then went on to be one of the top golfers in the tournament. So, yeah, I think it's ridiculous, but we have to talk about it. He is obviously the betting favorite to win this tournament here, guys. But both of you are going in a different direction here, Mark. You and Patrick in agreement that maybe it's Xander Schauffele's time to shine.
Wait a second. I'm agreeing with Patrick. No,
I don't know. That's what the computer says.
Xander's cursed now.
Just kidding. Look, as I've mentioned, I hold Patrick in high esteem. But I think all of the folks who work the PGA Tour and work golf week in and week out have seen the Xander train coming, because he was battling with injury last season, so he wasn't at 100% form. He's been healthier this year. I've asked him about it, and he says he feels great. But the putter was misbehaving, but he's got that ironed out, because every time I've seen him, people don't realize the care that he gives his putting game and how long he spends warming it up and preparing it prior to tournament rounds. So you knew that was going to turn around because he is a great putter. But for me, the coach in me sees the golf swing is in good working order. He's trending beautifully. I mean, his record around this place, he's done everything but win. And so I just get a sense that this guy who's got 3 top 10s in his last 4 starts, the game's trending, he loves it around here. I think it's his time. It's his time, really, to add another major to this already glowing resume.
And Mark, I'll just add this: 34 major championship starts in his career, 17 top 10 finishes. Half of his major championships, he is on the first or second page of the leaderboard. I would say he's a sneaky, tough competitor as well. No flaw in his game. So I'm in total agreement with Mark. Everything he said tenfold, that Xander Schauffele has a great chance to grab the 3rd leg of the career Grand Slam this weekend.
Look at the synergy that we finished this segment with. Guys, enjoy Augusta National this week. Patrick, good luck in that media competition. I'm expecting to hear some good results from you there as you take the course. In the meantime, we will get you set for the Masters on CBS. Our coverage picks up 12 o'clock Eastern, Saturday and Sunday. Of course, you can stream the action on Paramount Plus as well. And keep it locked here on CBS Sports HQ. We'll bring you round-by-round updates as they move along.
We've got your coverage.
Shane's behind you, like waving his head around, swaying back and forth. He's loving it.
You can watch the guys on the range with our On the Range coverage on Paramount Plus. Rory McIlroy, the defending champion. No Tiger or Phil, first time since '94, but still plenty of star power in this 92-player field. Here's a look at the notable morning groupings on Thursday. Bryson DeChambeau goes off at 10:07 a.m. Eastern Time. Shortly after that, it's Rory McIlroy's group. In the afternoon, you've got John Rahm, 1:08 Eastern Time, and Scottie Scheffler, 1:44 Eastern. Gary Woodland, one of those in his group. Gary Woodland coming off a recent win. So let's get Shane Bacon and Patrick McDonald in here. Patrick has an article at CBSSports.com breaking down the 9 recent trends that will help eliminate all but about, 6 players, Patrick, that you're going to end up with an opportunity to win this tournament. And we're going to start with age, because there is ageism out there. Right? If you're over 46, you're not going to win. Jack Nicklaus, it's the 40th anniversary of that. Tiger and Phil not playing. Patrick, are there any players that age or older you could see contending?
You know, Shane and I were doing our show earlier, and we were talking about if Jose Maria could beat Aldrich Potgieter in round 1 since they're paired together. But a lot of those old guys are paired with the Bombers. Did you notice that, Shane? With Minwoo Lee and Fred Couples, Wyndham Clark and Mike Weir. But, yeah, look, Zach Johnson finished inside the top 10 in this tournament last year. He had the lowest round in round 3 alongside Rory McIlroy. But like you mentioned, Chris, unfortunately, if you have a 5 in front of your age at this point, I don't think you're going to be contending at the Masters this year.
So it's been 40 years since Jack Nicklaus won at 46. Even longer since the last player won in his Masters debut. That was Fuzzy back in '79. But Shane, Chris Gotterup, the only player to win multiple times on tour this season. Are you really going to allow Patrick to just totally rule him out?
I think if there's ever a year that this could happen, it's this year. I mean, you think about some of the notable names coming in, you know, Scottie, some question marks, obviously Rory, some question marks, Colin Morikawa, still talking about being injured. The guys that I think away from Liv, by the way, how about that position at the top of the swing? The guys away from Liv, I mean, Rahm's played well, and Bryson's won his last 2 starts coming into this week. But the notable PGA Tour players, I feel like, aren't playing the level of golf we've seen in previous years. So, I mean, I think Gotterup has a real opportunity. I think a lot of the guys that are playing in their first Masters have an opportunity to contend and potentially win. And I think there's names beyond Chris Gotterup that I kind of focus on and like in that position. So I know that it's typical not to pick somebody, you know, a debutante, if you will, to go out there and take home the green jacket. Fuzzy Zeller, the last out of Gewitt in 1979. But if there ever was a year, it feels like this potentially could be the year.
Too bad. We've eliminated all of them. Let's move on. One of the reasons that it's been almost 50 years since we've seen a debut winner is because, as Patrick writes, I mean, Augusta National is a puzzle, and it often takes years to kind of put it together and figure it out. And it's often a steady climb, right? 7 of the last 10 winners have a top 5 under their belt. Patrick, Jake Knapp leads the tour in strokes gained, but he's never placed top 50 here.
Exactly, and I was kind to these guys. I put the cutoff point as a top 40 finish, because 10 out of the last 10 coming into the week had a top 40 finish, and even then, Jake Knapp unfortunately does not cross that cutoff point, and he's been great on the West Coast. Had that little back injury at the Arnold Palmer Invitational, but came back and had a really nice start out there in his last time at the Houston Open, firing a course record tying 62 that Sunday. And then you add in a couple of their other guys. Wyndham Clark, we've been picking on a little bit. He hasn't been playing great. He hasn't been playing well in major championships since his win at LACC in 2023. You have Nico Echeverria, where anything's on the table with that guy. Carlos Ortiz on Live Golf. But unfortunately, Chris, if you haven't figured out the puzzle yet, in some capacity, I don't think you're figuring out this weekend either.
So 7 of the last 10 have a top 5 at Augusta in their pocket. 7 of the last 10 already had a win that season under their belt. And Shane, the last several winners at this tournament, the first major, have really been the guys that have dominated the early season.
Got to play well. I mean, I think that's a big part of what we've seen recently is you have to come in with a level of form. Obviously, it helps the situation if you picked up that victory. I'd say of those listed, I think Harris English is a name I might pull out as potentially the type of player that I think could get himself in the hunt and go out and win this thing. I know we're eliminating guys, so I understand the process here. But obviously, I mean, we saw it last year with Rory, played the best golf of his early career, headed into the Masters, gets the win. We all know what Scottie Scheffler does. Jon Rahm, much of the same. Typically, you've got to find that early season form. I think when you're looking at names, Matt Fitzpatrick is someone that I think kind of fits that mold. Got the win in Tampa, and I think is kind of rolling in, understanding that the way the golf course is going to play probably plays into his hand, and of course he fits the Patrick mold here.
We're going through the 9 trends that eliminate a bunch of the field, and the last 10 winners at Augusta National all had a top 15 finish at a major the year prior. Shane, that eliminates a bunch of big names.
Everybody's out. Patrick just basically put this list together so that he could put Xander atop the board. I mean, that's what he did.
It was that way. Wait till the end, Shane. I was the most disappointed.
No Xander is what you're telling me. Spoiler alert. I mean, I think playing well in majors, you saw it last year with Bryson, right? He didn't get it done at Augusta, but I think that only helps the cause when you have an opportunity to go out there and get the experience, even with that experience obviously leading to disappointment. He talked about it in his press conference a few moments ago. He walked away kind of with that Brooks Koepka, I know what I've done wrong mentality about what happened alongside Rory last year. I mean, you're looking at some players. Justin Thomas is a guy we've talked so much about, Patrick and I have, in terms of his struggles around a golf course like this, that I feel like we all thought would fit his game so well, considering how good he is pitching the golf ball. But yeah, playing some solid golf in recent majors, I think is obviously going to help your cause when you start the year here at Augusta.
All right, now we need to break out the calculator. I almost said calendar. Amanda's getting on me here.
Both would work.
It's getting technical here, okay? Patrick, I'm going to need your help explaining this, why guys like Sungjae and Max Homa should be eliminated.
Well, it kind of goes along the lines of playing good golf. And strokes gained wise, you saw the last 4 winners average 2.5 strokes gained per round. And then you go back the last 10 years, they've been averaging at least 2/3 of a stroke gained per round, which is not a high bar to clear, mind you. But Max Homa doesn't cross it. Tyrrell Hatton doesn't cross it. Tyrrell Hatton had a great chance heading into the weekend in this tournament last year before a really poor 3rd round. And Sungjae, a guy who has been away due to injury, away due to serving a little military time with the Korean Marines as well. He came back, played well at the Valspar Championship, but he does not cross it either, just because his iron play has been so poor for so long. And so really it's just another barometer, more numbers-based than those finishes, of how well these guys are playing. And a guy like Sungjae, who has played the Masters really well throughout his career, a top 5 finish last year too, unfortunately doesn't clear it too.
All right, let's go to the tee box. If you grew up playing golf, either your dad or your grandpa or your uncle or your golf coach always said, you drive for show, you putt for dough. But while that is true, you can't win a tournament, just driving the golf ball well, but you can lose it off the tee. You have to gain something off the tee, Shane.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a golf course in terms of major championship golf where driving the ball exceptionally well isn't the most important thing. You think about the way U.S. Opens are set up these days, PGA Championships, you got to be really long and relatively straight to contend at those venues. Augusta has gotten a lot longer over the years, and it used to be a place, I mean, you think back to 1998 when Jack Nicklaus finished in the top 10, as did Tiger Woods. I mean, that's not necessarily the way the golf course plays these days. That being said, I think with the weather and the conditions, I think finding fairways is going to be extremely important. So the longer hitter is always going to have an advantage when you find fairways, but I think the finding fairways part of this will be important. Maybe off the tee is the 4th most important in terms of the skill set that's needed at the Masters, but I think with the conditions this week, driving accuracy will be something we focus on.
Okay, let's move on to a really interesting one here. Iron play. We've talked Scottie Scheffler. What's going on with him? Oh, it's the iron play. Patrick is going to help eliminate him and another favorite here.
Get him out of here.
This is a tough scene for a lot of people's picks going into this week. Bryson DeChambeau, of course, coming off those 2 wins on Live Golf. If you look at the actual numbers, this is his 5th best iron season of his career. It's really hasn't been as great as I think the public is assuming, just because he's won 2 times on Live Golf. He has struggled with his irons at Augusta National. He was just in the press building talking about the different grind, the different bounce, all this different equipment that he's put in his bag, trying to figure out the riddle. And what I do not like about Bryson's iron game is that his miss is like a violent left miss. And you cannot miss left going into these greens at Augusta National. And then Chris, you mentioned Scottie Scheffler. He was the best iron player in 23, 24, and 25 and 22 when he won. He ended the season as the number 4 iron player as well. Right now, he is outside the top 80 on the PGA Tour. He is not just average for Scottie Scheffler's standards. He's below average. He's become an average iron player so far on the PGA Tour this season. I think it's going to change this week, but unfortunately, due to the trends and the numbers, he will not be a winner. Although, maybe
get him out of
we'll
there.
See.
All right, let's go to the green, the short game. A trend that you've got to gain more than a half shot per round around the green, or you're going to be eliminated by Patrick. And unfortunately, Shane, that includes Xander Schauffele.
Xander's out. I mean, Colin Morikawa battling the injury. I think around the greens is probably the least impressive part of his game. We know the ball striking and the iron play. Koepka is a guy that, kind of gets hot in terms of short game at times. But when you think about the importance of playing this golf course when it's playing tough, and it's going to play tough this week, I don't think you see anybody touch something sub 65 considering the conditions. You're going to miss greens, and when you miss greens here, it's diabolical. And so I think the importance in terms of pitching the golf ball in short game will be on display maybe more than we've seen over the last 5 years in terms of the way this place is going to play. So I think it's not just putting, but it's about pitching and chipping. And when you go through recent winners, right? Rory, maybe the most underrated pitcher of the golf ball in the world. Scottie, incredible around the greens. John Rahm, so good around the greens. Hideki, DJ, Tiger, Patrick Reed. Those guys are so good in terms of their ability to get the ball near the hole and able to stay par when they miss greens. You got to lean on a very, very, very polished short game this week to have a chance.
I'm not sure if Shane knows this, but originally these were 10 trends, but that eliminated all 92 golfers in the field. So we had to keep Patrick to just 9. So who is remaining that can win this tournament?
Well, Shane just mentioned half of them. There are some of the previous champions. Despite the back injury, Rory McIlroy's metrics look great. I know Shane's kind of coming around to Rory's chances. John Rahm has been phenomenal in terms of total strokes gained so far in 2026. John Rahm is #1 in the world. Patrick Reed, of course, running through the DP World Tour. I know Ludwig Oberg has maybe had some trouble closing in recent weeks, but throughout the bag, it is really polished right now, and his short game has come a really long way. It just seems like he's chipping in more and more by the week. 2 at the Valero Texas Open. He had a couple at the Players Championship as well. Matt Fitzpatrick coming off that runner-up finish at the Players Championship and then the win at the Valspar. And then maybe the outlier of this bunch, a surprise addition, is Siwoo Kim. This guy is a tee to green menace. He's your favorite flusher's favorite flusher. He's putted with 3 woods before around Augusta National, and quietly, he has gained strokes putting in every single one of his Masters appearance, and that is typically his Achilles heel.
Patrick, I'm sharing a house this week with Scott Verplank, and he said with the conditions, he thinks we're going to see a lot more of the 3-wood, 5-wood, 5-iron pitch shots around these greens this week, which gets me very excited, obviously, in terms of the creativity. And by the way, Patrick, I don't see your pick from our show on this list, but I see mine. I see Patrick Reed just floating around. 2018 rolling right back in. Guy's got a couple of new sponsors. He's flying private and just sitting comfortably in that chair. And I feel like Patrick Reed is trending towards a second green jacket. P. Reed, my pick from the list.
There you have it. The 6 players left remaining that can win this based off recent trends of the last decade or so. You can read the whole article at cbssports.com. Our Masters coverage on CBS Sports HQ beginning on Thursday with live tournament coverage and breakdowns. And then when players get in the clubhouse, we've got highlights for you all weekend long.